Hello everybody, what's going on? This is Mr. T-Ball back. Another video. We've done the panda part 1, but we're going to go back. We're taking it right back to the start because some of you did not have the beta. So we're going to go back to Goodwin house and we're going to play through this and then go back through Ape Apprenticeship, and then we'll move on to Eye of the Tiger. So that's what we're going to do. First video today will be replaying Goodwin house. So let's get into this. Goodwin house, renovated and renamed after its purchase by Bernard Goodwin in the 1980s. Goodwin house has since become one of the most respected zoos in the country. More recently, it has undergone a further renovation to update many of the habitats and facilities. But due to the various issues, the work hasn't quite been completed. I cannot read, which is where I come in. Let's start anew. I love the theme tune music to this game. I think it's so cool. I'm looking forward to playing through all of these missions in career mode. Some of the levels are just designed so beautifully. Here we go. Look at that. Stunning.
Ah, heyo at Hematu. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I have a habit of slipping back into the Planko language. It's good
all right,
to
Bernie.
finally meet you in person. I'm Bernard, although I insist you call me Bernie. The only person who calls me Bernard is my wife. And even then, only when I've tracked elephant dung into the carpets.
He has a lot of
As
digs
you know,
about his wife.
I own
It's quite
several
funny.
zoos, but I always like to show people the ropes here at my home. This is the first zoo I ever opened, and a source of great pride for me.
That's cool.
And prides, thanks to a lion breeding program we ran in the 80s. But we're in the middle of a big renovation, and that's where you come in.
Nice
Sadly,
lion.
our old contractor
Hey,
had to
big boy.
retire after developing a fur allergy. Poor devil kept sneezing his dentures into the lion
Oh,
habitat.
head of
it's
the
up to
elephant
you
is
to
stuck up the other one,
finish
but
everything off. Don't worry though, I'm not completely throwing you in at the deep end. My head keeper, Nancy Jones, will be lending a helping hand. Oh, she's a hard worker, and she'll expect you to be too. But I'm sure you'll get along like a house on fire, or even better, one that
Yes,
isn't
we
on
will.
fire. Less shouting that way.
Bernie's jokes are
Hello
terrible.
there. From that rosy, fresh face of yours, I'm guessing you're Bernie's new hire. Good. Now, I hope you're ready to ditch your diploma because we're about to get really hands-on. But before we begin the real work,
Ready,
how
Nancy.
about we familiarize you with the zoo by learning how to fly around it and visiting some of our beautiful animals. We'll start by popping over and having a look-see at the grizzly bears in their habitat.
Let's do this. So have I gained control? Yes, I have. Right, here we go.
Did you know that grizzly bears, also known
bear's
as
up the tree.
Ursus arctos horribilis, can hibernate for up to 7 months
Is
a
he
year?
supposed to be up the tree?
Oh, but then again, given the chance, I think a lot of people would do that too.
Right, so
Select one
far
of
I've
the
seen an
bears and bring
elephant
up its
with his head
information
stuck up
panel.
the elephant's butt. And now a bear up a tree. A big bear. Can't even click him. Right, we're gonna click you.
This is where you can find out all kinds of information about your animal. The most important thing being its overall welfare. You'll learn more about animal welfare today as we go through your objectives. But for now, let's enjoy this magnificent animal. Why don't you select the camera at the bottom of its information panel? See now,
Oh, yeah.
this is a
Bear
fantastic
time.
way to get a close look at your animals. You can also get this view of an animal by simply double-clicking on it. Okay, when you're ready,
He's a big
let's
boy.
hop over to the
Or
other
he's just
side
on a
of the
poo.
zoo and take a look at the lions. I've marked their location for you to find.
Alright, shall I rescue this bear from the tree first? I cannot rescue him. I'm still in the animal camp, dummy. He's stuck up a tree. I know. Click that. Animals. Mika. Right, select you. Move. Hopefully Mika's not up a tree anymore. Mika! There's Mika. Okay, we saved a bear. That was a extra side mission. Right, where are we going? Oh yeah, the lions. Sorry, Nancy. How to save a bear.
All the West African lion to you and me.
Pretty.
Lions are the most social of the big cats, and there can be as many as 40 lions in a pride.
Oh, he's taking a dump too? What is it with these animals today?
As Bernie would say, those lions
goddamn.
are awesome. Which is precisely why I handle training instead these days. Anyway, how about we get started on those objectives? Come on, let's head over to an empty habitat and see what needs doing there.
Let's do it, Nancy. Let's go. Empty habitat. Where you at? Habitat. There we go.
As you can see, it's a lovely space for animals, but it's missing a certain something. Well, two somethings. Warthogs. So I'd like you to adopt a pair of them. To adopt animals, we need to open the animal market, which is in the animal trading section.
Got ya.
There we are, a pair of perfectly
Nice.
splendid warthogs for our zoo. Just click on them and select Adopt from the side menu. Normally the animal exchange would be full of animals, but I've emptied out the market while you learn how it works. The last thing I need is you accidentally ordering a dozen elephants. When you adopt an animal, it's automatically placed in the trade centre, where they're held until you're ready to move them into their habitat, which, as it happens, you are. So how about you move them into their new home?
Did it.
When you ask for an animal to be moved into a habitat, your caretakers will go to the trade centre, collect your animal, and deliver them to your selected habitat. I've marked the trade centre's location, so let's go
it's
and
over
watch
here.
the caretakers in action.
Here he comes, look. Du-du-du-du-du-du. Don't drop the animal now. I love how any animal can fit in like a small crate and they can just carry it. It's kind of fun. There we go. Get in. Pumbaa. Hey. It's kind of cool. Here comes Mrs. Pumbaa. You're going straight to bed, look. He's happy here. Right, Nancy, what you saying now? Tell me, Nancy. Tell me. Show me the way. Maybe you should get that up. Locate the trade center. Oh, I'm so dumb.
As you can see, those caretakers don't hang about. They'll move those animals to their destination as fast as possible. Of course, normally we'd have to place the animals into quarantine before moving them into a habitat, but I am assured by a person of good standing that these warthogs are in the very rudest of health. Right, let's get the warthog's habitat finished up so we can keep them nice and happy. You see, each animal in the zoo has an overall welfare statistic, basically how happy they are. And that overall welfare statistic is itself comprised of 4 different areas: nutrition, social health, habitat, and enrichment. Luckily, if you select an animal, you'll bring up their animal welfare information panel, which we saw earlier, where you can see how they're doing.
He's
That
hungry and
way,
thirsty,
you'll
look.
know exactly what areas need to be addressed. Don't worry if that's a lot to remember. You can always check the Zoopedia for more
That was cool.
information. Let's start by making sure we're taking care of the warthog's nutrition welfare. To do this, we'll need to place a
Okay.
food station and a drinking station. Now, each animal requires a different type of feeding station. And for the warthogs, it's a small feeding trough. So let's add one of those and a water bowl. Animals also require stimulation to keep them happy. Let's add a lovely mud bath for the warthogs to roll around in. That bath will count towards their
Roll
enrichment
around in.
welfare, specifically their toy enrichment welfare.
Ooh, that looks nice.
Nice work.
Get in there, buddy.
You've got a knack for this, I see. Now, our contractor
Yep.
had to leave in a hurry, so this place is in a pharaoh's state. Unfinished thingamajigs and whatsits all over the shop. But the first thing we need to finish is the ostrich habitat.
Oh, you're hungry.
It's over near the hippos.
Alright, let's finish this ostrich
before
habitat.
we actually start building our ostrich habitat, let's pause the game. Just click the pause button in the bottom right corner.
Did it?
That's more like it. A quick break. Sometimes it's a good idea to pause the game whilst you're doing something which requires your concentration, because it'll stop the zoo spinning out of control while you're looking the other way. Let's keep the game paused
Good
while we
tip.
get this ostrich habitat built. Okay, job number 1 here is to add a habitat gate before we complete the barrier. Every habitat needs a habitat gate. After all, how else would the keepers get in and out? Just make sure it's hooked up to the path so the keepers can reach it. Right,
Boom.
let's
There you go,
complete the
Nancy.
perimeter barrier so we can adopt us some ostriches. I've marked out an area for you to use, so I'd like you to finish off the perimeter using the brick barrier.
Can we curve? Yes, we can.
Good work. Remember, before you
Thank
can
you.
place animals in any habitat, it has to have a full loop of connected barrier. Now, you've probably
Makes sense.
noticed that guests can't actually see into this habitat at the moment. At least not without a stepladder. But seeing as they're banned, I'd like you to select a piece of barrier and swap out the brick for a glass barrier, so the guests can see in.
I wanted to do 2.
There we go.
Never mind.
Adding in more windows gives guests even more opportunities to see the animals in a habitat. It's always best to make sure the guests can get a good view into a habitat from the path they're walking on.
It won't
because
let
it makes
me.
them happy.
Oh well, one window.
Because this would be
It's
a
fine.
pretty terrible zoo if they couldn't. The last thing we need to do is to add a donation box. You see, when guests enjoy the view of
Oh,
an
yeah.
animal, they'll make a donation. Just make sure you put them in
Show me
easy
the
to
money.
reach places like near a viewing point. Donation boxes
do we
are
have it
one
on
of
the
the
path,
main
or-
sources of income for
No,
the zoo,
just
so
off.
make sure you remember them. Now,
Okay, Nancy.
before we adopt our ostriches,
problem.
you should click the play button. After all, if the game's paused, then so are our caretakers, which will make it a bit tricky for them to deliver the ostriches, eh? By the way, as well as pausing the game, you can speed the game up by clicking on the fast forward button. It'll run everything at 2 times and 5 times faster. It can be useful, especially if you're
Awesome.
waiting for money to accumulate or for animals to be delivered to your habitat. Personally, I use it when I'm waiting for a brew to finish. All right, you've finished the habitat, so it's high time we
Smart
adopted
move.
those ostriches, don't you think? Let's get 4 of them in here.
I think. The ostriches are en route.
While we wait for
Sent
them
to
to be
zoo.
collected by the caretakers and brought to the habitat, you should get it ready for them. Add a suitable feeding
Okay.
station, water station, and an appropriate food enrichment item. It's often best to place things like enrichments and feeding stations near to the habitat perimeter, so guests can get a really good view of the animals.
I know. But thanks for the tip, Nancy. Oh, look. First
good to
star.
see
Let's
the
go, baby.
ostriches have somewhere they can really stretch their legs. Did you know they can actually run at 43 miles per hour? Oh, heaven forbid they ever escape. The speed camera fines alone would bankrupt us.
Good one, Burn.
Well, Bernie certainly seems impressed. Did you do his speed camera joke? Every time
Of
we
course
get
he
an
did.
ostrich. So, now we've made the ostriches' lives a bit better, let's do the same for the keepers, shall we? To make it easier for the keepers to feed the ostriches and hippos, we should build a new keeper hut. Keeper huts are where the keepers prepare
Very
the food
important.
for animals, so they should be placed near to the habitats to make sure the keepers don't waste their time walking when they should be looking after the animals. This keeper hut only has space for one
Yeah.
keeper, but the larger keeper hut can allow multiple keepers to prepare food at the same time. Oh, but bear in mind that
I love the
keeper huts
interiors
and
too.
other
Look at that.
staff facilities shouldn't be placed near to areas where there are lots of guests. Guests don't
So
like
cool.
seeing facility buildings, and it can affect their happiness negatively.
Righto.
In case that wasn't clear. Something that all facilities, shops, and a
So
whole host
dumb.
of other objects need is power. And that obviously includes your newly built keeper hut. So let's place a transformer next to it, shall we? Now, the reason everything has gone blue is because you're using the power heat map. This map allows you to see what is and what isn't powered in your zoo. So, once you've placed your transformer, you can click in the bottom left to turn the heat map off.
I was trying to change it
Lovely
up,
work.
but wouldn't let me.
Now the keepers can start using the
Damn
hut
you,
to prepare
tutorial.
food, and thanks to where you've put it, they won't need to walk very far to deliver it to the ostriches and hippos. Let's get on to your next objective then. Bengal tigers. We want to adopt some, but I'm
Nice.
afraid there's nothing ready for them yet. Head on over to the plot of
What
land
is
I've
this
marked
shadow?
out. It's not too far away. Righty,
weird.
your next job is to build a habitat from scratch. And concrete and glass, I expect. So go ahead and build it. Just make sure that the habitat includes that big hole we've dug. Oh, and don't forget to add a habitat gate to the barrier. Oh, and make sure the guests will be able to see the tigers.
I totally got this, Nancy. I like that. You can stretch the last one out. It's pretty useful. Perfect fit. I think they must be shadows of balloons going up in the air. That was kind of freaking me out. Nice little habitat. Build a gate.
Now, Bernie takes safety very seriously at his zoos, so we should probably make sure those tigers
So we
can't
should.
jump out of their habitat, don't you think? The way we'll do it
Good
is
idea.
by changing the height of the habitat's barrier. Okay then, you should start by
Nice.
double-clicking the habitat barrier, which will take you into barrier editing mode.
Got it.
Great. Now highlight the entire perimeter of the habitat. You can do that by clicking and dragging the barrier selection tool. Now you've got all of the perimeter selected, you can increase the height of it by clicking and dragging the barrier height tool upwards. You'll want to make sure it reaches a height of at least 3.7 meters.
Very precise. 3.7 at least. Should we have it bang on? We can't.
Now that the habitat is in place,
3.71.
don't forget to put down a donation box near to your
That'll do.
viewing areas. We need every dollar we can get. Especially as these tigers aren't exactly eating instant noodles for lunch.
Instant noodles. Damn it, Nancy. Ah, she's so funny. Right, that's it. We've got a viewing area.
Okay, that's
of a
the
donation
habitat
box.
boundary complete, the habitat gate's in place, and most importantly, the tigers won't be able to jump out of it anymore. I think it's time we adopted those
Damn right.
tigers.
Let's do it. Tigers are so cool. Look at these. Aliyah and Rihanu. 12 grand and 10 grand. These are expensive. Worth it though.
Whilst our trusty caretakers collect and deliver the tigers, let's take a look at preparing the habitat for their arrival. We'll start with the basics. Add a suitable feeding station for them.
Right, you are. Food tray, large,
This
right
time,
there.
instead of adding a water bowl, let's try something different. Some animals need a pool in their habitat so they can go for a swim, but they can also use it to drink from.
Here's one they
All
made
you have
earlier.
to do is make sure the banks of the pool have a gentle
Tigers here.
slope so they can easily get a nice, refreshing drink. There's already a pool excavated, but you still need to fill it with water. You should do that by going into terrain and selecting
Pretty
the
cool,
water
right?
tool.
Ah. That's awesome. Right, let's do what Nancy's telling me to do before she tells me off. Water. Why can't I fill it up? Because the tiger's in the way? Move, dummy!
Yes, that'll do nicely.
There we go.
Of course, just like the warthogs and ostriches,
water looks
these
so good.
tigers will also need some enrichment. Why don't you add some suitable toy and food enrichment items into their habitat?
Okay. There we go. Frozen blood pumpkin. Yummy. And then a rubbing pad. Right in view of
Okay,
the
it's
viewing
really
area.
starting to take shape. Now, the tigers will need a shelter in their habitat so
Yeah,
they can
light
hide
flare,
from the
that's pretty
guests,
dope.
or more likely the bad weather. Although given that we're in England, you might want to think of that just as normal weather.
Oh, they like the
Go on,
pumpkin.
add a shelter to their
Looking
habitat.
good.
You can either
tasty.
build one from various suitable bits and bobs, or if you like, just pop down the blueprint that I've already built for you.
I will just use the blueprint for this tutorial. Custom building will be in the sandbox that I do.
Oh, poor Dabs. I'm sure it can't have escaped your attention that the
Poor
tigers look a
Dabs.
bit miffed. That's because they aren't too keen on the type of terrain in their habitat. Select a tiger and bring
You got
up its
this.
information panel. Rightio, click on the terrain tab. That way you can view the terrain information and see how they feel about the different types of terrain. That'll tell you what the tigers need more
What's
of
more
or less
soil?
of in this habitat. Okay then, open the
Less long
terrain
grass.
editing tool, select painting, and give them some more soil. Yes, that should help with the habitat part of their welfare. Right then, all animals need plants and trees from their own biome or continent. You know, deserts, savannas, or Asia, Europe, that sort of thing. It looks like these tigers need a few more plants in their habitat. To get a perfect fit, use plants from the rainforest and temperate biomes that are native to Asia. Although if you have to, you can get away with using just one or the other. The tigers will also want a certain amount of their habitat to be covered by those plants. To find out which plants to use and how many, select a tiger and go to the Environment tab. Now, as you
Look
can
at
see,
that.
some of the plants currently in the habitat aren't quite right for the tiger, like the wattle bushes. You can remove them if you want. You can find all of the
Right,
plants
I
you need
forget
in the nature section, and you can use the
what they
filters to
wanted.
only show
Here
the
we go.
types of plants you want to see. In
Tropical,
this case, that's
temperate
plants from the
grassland. So
rainforest or temperate
tropical,
biomes.
temperate grassland. And then they're from Asia. That's a pretty cool feature. So they're still not happy with this bush. Where's this? Get rid of that. What else don't you like, buddy? This thing. Goodbye. Right, everything else? No, there's more of these. Is that it? Hawthorn bush? I'll get rid of it anyway. What else don't you like, buddy? Okay, we're good now. So we can start adding some of these. Banana palms, they're pretty small. Coconut palms, these look nice. One on top of that mound. Maybe a little something over here. They're a bit too big. I have another couple of palm trees. Couple of ferns around the base of the trees because they look nice. What else do we go for? I want something on this rocky area here. Nice. Let's put a banana palm thing. Why do you keep snapping like that? That's weird. I actually don't like that one there. That can go. Right, so how are you looking? You good? Yeah. So what's going on now? Increase plant. Oh right, they need more plants. My bad. Can I turn this, or is it aligned to surfacing? There we go. Better. These reeds are kind of big. That's looking kind of nice though. Right, you still want more trees and stuff? Okay, that's cool. They'd be liking their trees, right? So a couple more things around the base. I like to cover the trunks of the trees most of the time. I just think it looks kind of nice. Let's have one on like a little weird angle. I can't get it right. There we go. So we're at 86. And it likes the trees. Right, coconut palms along the back here. That's cool. Some little bushes. Oh, they don't like this one? Maybe if I get rid of them reeds, that'll do it. Now, how do you like your plant welfare? I've lost my tigers. Oh, they're over here. Both of them chilling in the same spot. Looks kind of weird. 81? Oh, they need more coverage? God damn it. Okay, got this. We got there in the end.
Good fences make good neighbors. I guess that's doubly true when one of the neighbors is a Bengal tiger. Still, those tigers look so happy that I doubt they'd leave, even if you did poke a hole in their fence. Oh, but for heaven's sake, don't test that theory.
Surely they need some bedding to lie on, right?
Indian peafowls. I've been told that we need to improve their social welfare.
Let's go for gold.
Just find one of the peafowls and select them to open their information panel. Then we can have a good gander at how they're doing. Although technically,
It's
I suppose
Phil, the
gandering would just be
peafowl.
for geese. Expand their social welfare and we
Right,
can get
so
a
they
bit
want
more
more.
detail.
Adopt 3 more.
Now, they've clearly got plenty of space and they're not stressed, but it looks like their social group isn't quite right. So let's find out more. Click on the social tab at the top of their information panel to see what's wrong. Right, as you can see, the
More adult
peafowlers need their
population.
population to be larger. To solve this little problem, you'll need to adopt 3 more female peafowls. Off you pop to the animal market then.
Halfway pop indeed. There we go. Send to zoo. Send to zoo. And send to zoo. Nice. Should we speed up? Here we go. Bringing me my peafowl. Oh. I thought I did that.
Good work on those peafowls. I expect they'll be delivered soon.
Thank you.
But sadly, it sounds like our snow leopard is a bit grumpy. Let's head over there and see what's wrong with her.
Ooh, snow leopards. Nice. Where you at?
Just
Oh,
like
climbing a
people,
tree, that's pretty
animals
dope.
can suffer from stress if things aren't quite right. You know, like when you see someone put in the milk before the tea bag. In the case of these snow leopards,
Damn
they're
right.
a bit stressed by their lack of privacy. You can lower their stress levels by swapping out the normal glass barrier by their
trying to
cave
click
for
on this
one-way
damn animal.
glass. It's not a cheap option, but I think they're worth the expense, don't you? This will give the snow leopards somewhere to go when they want to get away from the prying eyes of the guests. Of course, when an animal isn't in its natural biome, it's probably going to be too hot or too cold. Unsurprisingly for the snow leopards, it's too hot. Even with the terrible British weather. You should help cool it down by adding some coolers to their habitat. But let's start by opening up the temperature heat map and having a look-see at the temperature in the leopard's habitat.
It's hot.
As you can see, we already have one cooler in there. Let's pop some more down and get as much of the habitat as chilly as we can. Luckily for us, this habitat already has power, but you'll need to make sure of that in the future. Just so you know, if any part of a habitat is powered, then the whole habitat will be powered.
Right, is that cold enough?
You can find heat maps for all
Looks like
sorts
we'll need
of
one
helpful
there.
things, so do be sure to explore them and make good use of them. It'll take a little while for the temperature to adjust once you've added coolers or heaters, but now we've got the coolers in, we can address the leopard's terrain welfare. You see, what the leopards really want in here is snow and rock, so let's make that happen.
Right, let's get rid of this heat map. Oh, that's like floating on the top. That's quite annoying. We can get rid of that one. Right, terrain. I prefer to do this by clicking the animal. And then terrain. And it tells me exactly what he wants, like snow and rock. Let's turn that down a bit too. There's too much short grass, so you can have more snow.
All of that should give you a pretty good understanding of how to make animals happy. So I'd like you to go and check on all the other animals in the zoo and fix up any issues with their habitats. That'll increase the average welfare of the animals across the whole zoo. And that average welfare is a very important statistic. Now, to quickly see how all your animals are doing in the zoo, you should go into zoo management and then into the animals section. As you can see, this list shows you the animals' overall welfare. So if something's amiss, then you can quickly pop over to them using the locate button. Right, I'm off for a cuppa while you make sure all the animals are well looked after.
Right, the zebra are not the happiest, but I think we can improve this snow leopard's happiness. Oh no, he's good, he's good, he's good. So we'll go to the zebra. I don't know if it's zebra or zebra. I suppose it depends where you're from. Right. Tortoise needs a bit of work too. Let's see what we can improve for you, buddy. Enrichment, right. Put a filter on. What is he? Aldebra turtle. Herb scent marker. A little bowl. Sprinkler. Fruit spike tree, just because we can. See, he's happy now. Might as well put one of everything out, right? Got one of those. And you can have a ball over here to play with. He's so happy now. Turtle power, done. Next, get rid of that filter. And see who else needs a little bit of care. Here we go. What's your problem, my friend? So, your habitat. Terrain. You want less soil, and you want more grass. Let's increase the size a little bit. Nearly got rid of enough soil. There we go. They could have a little bit more long grass. I mean, they're happy enough with that. So, what else was bad? Just your enrichment. So, habitat. Species plain zebra.
Not bad. Not bad at all. I
There we
think
go.
it's fair to say that you've passed
That's
the
the
first
gold
part of
medal.
your training with flying colours. There's still lots more to learn, but we'll have to head to another one of Bernie's zoos for that. If you want to grab your passport, we'll head off, shall we?
Alright, we will grab our passport. And we will see you
Sounds like you got
in the next
whole
video.
zoo purring away nicely. Well, purring, grunting, screaming, booming. All the appropriate noises. I guess I was right to hire you, huh? Don't tell her I told you, but Nancy wasn't sure you'd even last the morning. So, we're happy this is working out. And Nancy owes me a foxy coffee. As strange as it seems, considering we just met, when I look at you, I feel like you're the child I never had. After the one I did have, obviously. But you see, zookeeping's not for my daughter. Don't get me wrong. Emma absolutely loves animals, but she set her sights somewhat higher. Wants to save the entire planet. I'll just settle for saving a couple of species. And maybe having a type of frog named after me.
Bernie, he's crazy, man. Right, everyone, thanks for watching. Hope you join me in the next one where we'll be going to the to Madagascar and sorting out that sanctuary. So everyone, thanks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit that post notification button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out, guys.